Hello, good evening. My name is Stephanie Bishop. I'm an information officer here on the Orleans complex with California Team 4. First, I'd like to start out and let you know we have 19,744 acres. We sit at 10% containment, and we have 1,988 personnel. I want to thank you guys for joining us at such late notice. This is our first full day on the fire, and we wanted to put something together quickly. I'd also like to say thank you to YCTV4, who is also helping us broadcast this out, as well as everyone who has joined us on our YouTube channel or the 2 Facebook pages. Also, I'd like to give you guys some information about, we have received your questions that have come in. Please continue to either email those questions in or feel free to ask them on the YouTube channel or the Facebook channel. Tonight we're going to do this a different way. We're just going to do a brief update on the operations of the fire, a little bit of weather, some fire behavior and air quality, and we're going to do evacuation update, and then we're going to go into question and answers. So to start us out, I'm going to ask for Operations Section Chief Carrie Williams to come up.
Good evening, Carrie Williamson, Operations for California Interagency Incident Management Team 4. As far as the incident, I'm going to start with the portion up towards Portuguese Creek. So everything all along the fire's edge, as we progress down Salmon River Road and go out to the Forks, we've had extensive amount of resources in there mopping up, pulling any unnecessary supplies. All the fire's edge has stayed well within the control lines. As we progress out towards Quail Flat, we've got resources as well as hose lays, direct hand line, all along the fire's edge going up towards Hog Creek. We did run into one area where there's limited fire activity, limited heat. They did go in there today in Cold Trail. They do continue up towards Hog Mountain, and they're continuing out towards the east. Everything up top on the northern portion of the incident looks really good. We've had a lot of resources mopping up. Fire has had limited fire activity on the northern portion, as well as when we drop down on the east in Murderer's Gulch. We've got direct line all along the eastern flanks, coming all the way down to Sawyers Bar Road. Everything along Sawyers Bar Road, we continue to have resources patrolling and mopping up and securing the fire perimeter. Limited fire activity. There is interior smokes that will continue to burn along that road system. As we progress out towards the Forks, limited fire activity. The main portion of fire activity that folks may have seen is everything as you come out towards Cecilville Road. So right towards McNeil Creek, we've got a portion of unburned fuel. It goes from McNeil. A part of it has been filled in with fire. As we progress out towards Missouri Flats or Missouri Bar, there's a little pocket of unburned in there that continues to back towards the road, and we do still have debris falling out on the road, and we've got resources pushing that debris off the road system. From Know Nothing Creek, going all the way out towards the south and progressing to the west, we've got resources all along this direct hand line that they put in. They continue to patrol, mop up, and secure the fire perimeter. Right towards the 0407 road, towards where it says Draw Point 54, we did have an increase in activity in there today. No factor for the lines, no threat. We had no issues, but it does continue to burn this green pocket. As we progress out to the west, we have had limited growth. We do have a little portion in Lunch Creek that did make an uphill run about 2 nights ago. A little bit of increased activity, limited fire growth. As we progress out towards Orleans Mountain, we've had limited growth, limited activity. We've got a lot of resources out there patrolling and mopping up all the way out towards Butler Creek and back towards the Salmon Butler dip. As far as the red fire, we have started suppression repair. We've started backhauling all unnecessary supplies, and we've been chipping the red incident. And a report.
Thank you. Next up, I'd like to ask for our incident meteorologist, Woody Unruh.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Woody Unruh, and I am the incident meteorologist trainee serving on the Orleans complex. Real briefly, I just want to talk about what an incident meteorologist is. And so I come from the Duluth, Minnesota office, but I do maintain a qualification to deploy out nationwide to support incident management teams such as Team 4. And so I'm here on the fire providing weather forecasts that are specific to the Orleans complex and also ensuring firefighter and by extension also public safety. But one of the duties that involves is notifying for thunderstorms, and that really has been the main story for the past couple days, is that we have seen some thunderstorm activity in the afternoons. Fortunately, yesterday we did see some rainfall over the fire area, primarily around Division November, Forks of Salmon area. That's where we saw about half an inch to 0.6 inches of rainfall, with that rainfall amounts decreasing further west across the fire. Now today we also saw some thunderstorm activity over in the Scott Valley area, but unfortunately did not see any of that rainfall move over into the fire area. Now looking over here at the weather matrix, this is a quick snapshot at a variety of different weather conditions going out for the next 7 days. And what we see on here is a general pattern of change. So we've been seeing these afternoon thunderstorms every day. And starting tomorrow, we do start to see those thunderstorm chances move east of the area. For instance, tomorrow, much of that thunderstorm activity is going to be remaining east of the Scott Valley. And then we finally next start going into more of a warming trend. And so heading this weekend into early next week, we do start to see temperatures start to ramp up again. So high temperatures down in the valleys in the afternoon are going to be going into the mid to upper 90s. So not necessarily the heat wave that we saw towards the beginning of the Orleans complex, but definitely warmer than what we have been seeing the past couple days. Now, in addition, the one day I do want to draw attention to is going to be Thursday. Now, Thursday, we do start to have a few more of these conditions here that lead to more of those extreme burning conditions start to line up. And so in this case, you can see those high temperatures getting into the mid-90s. And then we also have some what's called increased instability. And so that's going to be basically the atmosphere is going to be more supportive for vertical motion, and thus that can lead to more extreme burning conditions. Now heading into Wednesday and Thursday of next week, we do start to see those thunderstorm chances return to the area. So we'll be monitoring again for some additional thunderstorm development in the afternoon, lightning strikes, gusty outflow winds, etc. That, end of report.
Thank you, Woody. Next up, fire behavior analyst DeAndre Wiley.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is DeAndre Wiley. I'm the fire behavior analyst for Team 4, and my job as a fire behavior analyst is to use the tools and computer programs to put together an outlook for the firefighters, the citizens, and the first responders for that particular day on what the fire is going to do. So if you watched any of our briefings or updates, you may hear me say, for instance, today was a moderate risk burn environment. And what that means is it's always risky. There's always a level of risk for our responders and firefighters in the field. What I'm talking about is the atmosphere and the whole theater for the fire. For instance, today was moderate, meaning we had the wind, the temperature, the RH, everything was there to increase fire. On a high-risk day, some of those high-risk triggers include really high winds and lightning, and we've had a couple of those shifts. I also use different machines and nomenclature. You may hear me mention ERCs, and that's an energy release component. What that does, it tells us how dry the environment is, and that's based on the typical season. For today, it was 48, so it's below the 90th percentile. We like to use percentiles. When it's around 95 to 97 percentile, that means it's significantly dry. I also use burn index as an indicator for how difficult it will be to control the fire. Today it was 35, so it's at the 80th percentile. So if we did have a new start or something with the wind got up and moving, it could pose a spotting potential and potential problems for holding. I also use another indice called the probability of ignition. That's in a percentile as well. Today, for instance, it was 80 to 90%. And what that means is if I dropped 90 matches and 90 fuel beds, we would get 90 new starts. So that just goes to show you how dry the atmosphere is, how dry the fuels are. And if we had new starts or slop over spots, those would be very difficult to handle. I won't go over the entire incident because Ops did a really good job of that. But I will talk about some areas of vulnerability, and it was mentioned that that Mission Bar area. I know crews are doing some firing there, but just that topographical feature and the wind from the river, there's always spotting potential there. What we did do is run some of our models, and we did put a spot on there on our computer, and it did minimal run there. So crews are working really hard to get in front of that. Also was mentioned is the top of McNeil Creek. That was also a tactical firing project. So the fire there is minimal, but it is cleaning up the belly there as it should do. And then there was also talked about that small little piece on Lunch Creek. That's doing what it's supposed to do. Those pockets are eventually going to fill in. With that, end of report.
Thank you. Next up with air quality, Chris Woody.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Chris Woody. I am the Air Resource Advisor trainee for the Orleans Complex, and my job is to come to fires like this and forecast and assess the smoke impacts in and around the fire. So today I have an example of some satellite imagery over the fire area, and what this is showing is on July 19th, this is an entire loop of the sunlight hours during the day. And what I'm showing here is the smoke over the entire region, where you can see some of the topography poking out. And what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that even though we may be a ways away from the fire, and many people here know that smoke can find its way into the valleys and stick in the valleys a very long time. And what's really interesting about this is while it's flowing down the valleys, it takes most of the day to clear out. And this was a particularly active day, so a lot more smoke was being produced than we're seeing currently. But it really illustrates some of the problems we've been seeing overall. Next slide, please. So one of the areas hit the hardest in the last week or so has been on the southern fork of the Salmon River along Cecilville Road. This graph is of a community sensor of air quality in Cecilville. And what I want to draw attention to is this, while this is a week long, you see a lot of reds, purples, and pinks on here. And when we measure air quality, we're using these colors to indicate the relative quality of the air, where greens and yellows are good and moderate, and oranges, reds are unhealthy for sensitive groups and unhealthy levels, and then it goes up to very unhealthy and hazardous. We start to get concerned when we get to the orange and red levels because they start to cause problems for people who are sensitive to low air quality, such as those who are young or elderly, or those who have some health conditions like heart trouble or breathing problems like COPD. So the thing to really be aware of is this graph shows from July 17th to July 23rd. And with the exception of the evening of July 17th, which was over a week ago, we have been in over unhealthy levels of smoke. And this has persisted until this morning, 8 days later. So this entire drainage has been seeing a lot of smoke. And for those who live in drainages like this, we have a high level of concern because not only does the concentration matter, but the amount of time that you're in these high levels matters as well. Next slide, please. So what I have here is a graph that should be publicly accessible. It's a way for you to go and look at the air quality in the area live feed. And so there are several monitors we have placed in this area. Each of these large circles is a high quality ground level sensor that measures our particulate matter, which is the main component in smoke. And most of them are placed around the community, and it also shows us carbon monoxide levels. And this blue box is the forecast that an air resource advisor provides for a fire. In this case, the Orleans Complex, which is the one we're deployed to now. Next slide, please. And so, because we've had all this thunderstorm activity, it's actually provided a fair amount of relief for the area. So with the exception of the Salmon River drainages, the north and south, Sawyer's Bar and Cecilville, we've been seeing good conditions in the entire area, which has been fantastic. But again, because of the concerns with Cecilville, we're still expecting moderate to unhealthy for sensitive groups for the next few days. Other areas like Sawyer's Bar, which is also an area that's been concerning as of late, we're expecting good to moderate. And the rest of the areas will be primarily good conditions. Next slide, please. So one of the things I wanted to bring up was if you're having trouble with these high concentrations of smoke and you're having trouble breathing in the smoking conditions, there's a few steps you can take. Primarily, you want to break up these long periods of exposure. So one of the things you could do is, if your community has a clean air shelter, encourage using those resources where they're available. If you can get out of the area for a few hours, that also is very helpful. The other things you can do, especially if you are in the sensitive groups, is limiting your outdoor or strenuous activity during the highest smoky periods. If you have an N95 mask, that also is another tool you can use. And in your own home, if you have access to an air cleaner or have the ability to make a DIY air cleaner with a MERV 13 filter and a box fan, these are ways to create your own clean space if you need to do so. End of report.
Thank you, Chris, for that information. Next up, to give evacuation updates, Sheriff LaRue.
All right, good evening. Can you hear me? All right. Sheriff Jeremiah LaRue to talk about evacuations. This is our map here, and what you'll notice in Siskiyou County, there's two colors. There's orders, which are red, and there's warnings, which are yellow. And essentially what that means is anytime there's a threat to public safety, whether that be a fire or a flood or could be an avalanche or a volcano going off for that matter, we will often put things in an order, which means there is a significant threat. The yellow means that there is a potential for that to escalate into a potential threat. It's not really a time to get your things together. You should be prepared. So we always encourage people to get ready, because at any moment anything can go from normal to directly to an order, or it could even go into a warning. So on this map you'll see a variety of different areas surrounding the fire, and those are put into orders or warnings based upon a collaboration between all of the different agency representatives. Usually there's hundreds of years of experience involved in these decisions, and they're designed to keep everybody safe. And we have to project out into the future. We have to look at things that are very dynamic and rapidly evolving. And so we not only look at the active fire threat in this instance, but we also look at road conditions, we look at debris, we look at things about traffic, and even some cases there's issues with electricity or power, down power lines. So those are all some of the factors we use if you're not familiar with the system. And again, these can go from one to the other. And every day we get together and we decide if we're going to downgrade or even add additional orders. It just depends on the nature of the fire. As you hear, it's very dynamic and changes frequently. We're always eager to drop the orders to warnings and warnings to normal anytime that we can. So I just want people to know that we do that and look at that every day throughout the day, and any opportunity that we can do that, we will certainly do that. Thank you.
I'm just going to let you keep that because we're going to start the question and answer. In this period, we're going to give about 30 minutes to address all the questions. I'm going to have Sheriff LaRue go first because he's got a series of questions that came in via email. So we'll go ahead and start with him.
I do have a nice stack of questions, and I appreciate them coming in. And everyone has a right to ask whatever they want. So this first question says, when can we expect Salmon River Road to be open to local traffic? Fire traffic has been using it for a number of days, and the fire is largely contained in the area. Even if needed to be piloted during busy hours, it is important to reopen so that the local community members can resume their daily lives. Many people travel back and forth for work and family obligations, and it is not right to deny people their livelihoods unnecessarily. So great question. So the Salmon River Road, as you've seen on the map in this area, we did actually at one point downgrade, I think it was a couple days ago, the Butler Flat area, and that's because we split the zone 1704. After our collaborative discussions, we determined that The roadway in that area was safe for travel. The rest of the roadway, as we even met about this earlier today, there's significant debris that's falling down. And there's large rocks, there's small rocks. I guess there's also some trees and whatnot because of the fire activity. And so something that people need to recognize with this, we don't want to send anyone into one of these zones where there might be debris or something that could cause a fatal accident or somebody could get really hurt. So unfortunately, I mean, one of my obligations is to ensure that people are safe. And so when I open something back up, I'm basically telling the public that they are going to be okay getting through there. And the last thing I want to do is someone to get hurt, because that's on me. That was a poor decision if I do that. So I want you to know that the reason that the road remains closed at this time is because there's an active threat because of the falling debris. And we have been clearing that twice a day, the road department, and there's always rocks when they go back. And so we want to get to a place where that decreases so that we feel comfortable. And again, that's a collaborative effort. So we're always looking at that. Anytime that it can be safe, we'll do that. With regard to piloting traffic, it's the same thing. If the road becomes clear and we start piloting, but then the boulder comes, it's not safe. So we have to just ensure that there is going to be a safe period of time that we all feel comfortable with, and we can sign off to know, so you know that you're going to be okay. So that's the first question. Might be a while here, but okay. The next one has to do with: is it possible to downgrade or clean up the downtown Forks of Salmon area and allow at least controlled traffic that is under the 15 to 20 minute wait on Sawyer's Bar? This allows residents to travel via Sawyer's Bar. So I will just reiterate the same thing with the traffic. It's just the hazards on the roadway. We take no joy in blocking the road or restricting traffic. But I do hear you on this, and I want you to know as soon as we can get that open up, we will. The next question is, are those times the same for Cecilville Road with respect to the traffic? So again, these are very similar. All the roads we're looking at the same time to make sure that they can be opened up and that you can have safe passage. Okay, then, are we still good? Okay, thanks everybody. The next question is, according to a news article, the sheriff was quoted saying that the deputies are going door to door daily. This is categorically false. Is Sheriff LaRue that this is not true? And then trust between the community and the authorities is a major issue for the fire. False statements like this damage community trust and make the sheriff's office less trustworthy in the event of future evacuation orders. So with that, I do appreciate that. I'll have to look at the article exactly. I know our deputies have been in the area and they have gone door to door. Whether it's every single door, I don't know that for a fact. But the idea is that we are a presence in there, and we have been communicating not only with just the deputies, but we've had our liaisons, fire officials, that have gone to almost everybody, I think repeatedly and consistently, to educate people about the threat. And I will look at this article. And again, I will say this about the trustworthiness. You know, we want to maintain a good relationship with the community. I recognize that my job is a very difficult and challenging one, in that I'm kind of like the parent that isn't letting people do what they want right now. I don't mean it to be that way, but I'm being very honest. I have an obligation to keep you safe, and if I don't do my job, I'm undermining the entire effort of the fire operation. And I want to get you home as soon as I can. Many of you have not evacuated. We talked about that earlier. And part of the trust, I think, goes both ways. I will just say that when an order is given, it's a lawful order, and people are supposed to evacuate. In fact, if you don't evacuate, it's actually a criminal offense. I don't say that because I want to arrest anybody, but the point is, if we're going to have trust, we need to have it both ways, and I ask that people respect the lawful order so that everybody can be safe in the community. The next question is, the evacuation order states that the areas of evacuation are determined to be still extremely dangerous. These conditions put lives at risk. If that's true, then why are the sprinklers, hose lays, water tanks, and structure defense being removed from Forks of Salmon today? So a couple things. I can't speak exactly to all the different things that are with sprinklers and hose lays and water tanks. But what I will say about with respect to orders, those are separate than what is happening with fire activity. And what I mean by that is, I guess, as far as structure protection. So when an order is given out, I mean, let's remove this to a mountain erupting. God forbid that were to happen. We would shoot out an evacuation order. We would let people know to get out. Lava's coming. There's no guarantee that there's structure protection or anything else. It's just a demand that you leave because there's a safety issue. The reason I use that as an example is because if there's a lawful order given with respect to what fire officials are doing with protecting homes, that's a secondary thing that has nothing to do with the order itself. So I can't speak to that. I know they've been very active in there. If anybody wants to speak to fire with hose lays and sprinklers, that would be maybe another question. But they're not linked together. We have been working together, but they are not one and of the same. The other one is, if there are issues on roads, please explain. I think I did, hopefully. It's just an issue with the rocks and other debris at this time. Okay, and then what is the relationship between firefighter decisions to remove water line, protecting houses, and keeping it in an evacuation order? So as I kind of mentioned, they're not in and of themselves. They're separate things. So I tell people to get out because there's an imminent threat, and then what the fire officials are doing and the firefighters is doing their job in trying to prevent structure loss, put the fire out, going direct, and those types of things. So there are situations where there isn't enough time and people need to get out. And I will emphasize this, in my 20 years, the first 15, I don't remember people losing their lives to fire, very rarely. In the 5 years I've been sheriff, I think we're up to 10 fatalities. And that's a huge number, and it's all because of these fast-spreading wildfires. It's different than it used to be, and so I'm not willing to take that chance with you. You have every reason to be upset and frustrated, and I value that, I really do. But I am not going to let you die on my watch if I can prevent that. These ones are both the same question about the roadway. That's it. The rest of the road questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I'm going to ask for Operations Section Chief Carrie Williamson to come up.
Good evening. So one of the questions that I received is the incident action plans for the past few weeks have been consistent with operational objectives. Keep the fire west of Methodist Creek, south of Monty Creek, east of Soames Mountain, north of the North Fork of the Salmon, west of the Little Fork, west of the South Fork of the Salmon River. And then today's IAP lists operational objectives: keep the fire north of Young's Peak, south of Steinecker Creek, east of Orleans, west of Jackass Creek, and west of Black Bear Creek. That's a massive increase in the size of the box in every direction. Why and what prompted this change besides the transition between management teams? And then what increases the size of the box when crews are moving to suppression repair in many areas? So I will be very honest with this. So I got here Saturday of last week. So I was here with the outgoing team and now here with the incoming team. So a lot of the control objectives, yes, the fire intent for what we're doing as far as suppression objectives is to keep the fire within the smallest footprint possible while keeping firefighters as safe as possible, protecting the values at risk. I changed the incident objectives, or the control objectives, and the intent of that is to be able to provide a box that's easy or kind of palatable for people to understand. So using geological features such as roads, rivers, as well as ridge lines. And so I changed those control objectives with the intent for any of the fire personnel to clearly be understand and see a box. And so previously it was kind of hard to understand where we were keeping the fire. So I took basically the longest running feature north to south, as well as the southern flank going east to west or west to east. then everything on the west and the north. So that was the intent. The intent is to not make a bigger box. The intent is to provide something that's super palatable for folks to understand where we're trying to keep the fire in, with the intent of smallest footprint. The next question is, will backfiring operations continue along Cecilville Road? If so, will that prolong the road closure? So right now, the only piece of Cecilville Road that we are going to potentially utilize UAS on tonight is one little portion just outside of Missouri Bar. So there's one interior pocket on Missouri Bar, and the intent of that is to be able to burn that unburned pocket, so that way that portion is secure. The intent of that is so we can get the roadways opened. However, there is going to be additional work with hazard tree abatement, as well as safety measures for the local public and firefighters on that road system. But I think after tonight, that portion should be down to the road system. Can you instruct firefighters to run sprinklers to wet fuels before it threatens homes? So right now, yesterday, the main threat for the fire, we did get adverse winds down in Missouri Bar. So I do want to be very clear about that. The portion of Missouri Bar with the adverse winds, we did shift about 3 to 4 additional strike teams over to Missouri Bar due to that. With that, we did have the sprinklers going because that's where the threat was. There are additional homes that aren't currently being threatened by the fire. There is additional issues in that area with the closures. But we have been having firefighters turn sprinklers on where the threat is, with the intent of those homes being protected. And then how does drone firing reduce fire severity and risk to firefighters? So I'll use this portion just outside of McNeil Creek. So McNeil Creek is a really big, it's a large mountain range, and so you don't realize how big the Klamath is unless you live here, you're living locally. The Klamath is big country, and so how does it reduce fire severity and the risk to firefighters? So the intent of utilization of the drones, we've got IR that's able to go out and look at heat detection, and we've got the ability to use ping pong balls for firing operations. And so we're able to cover a significant piece of ground very quickly, and it's much easier because we're flying a single aircraft. If the aircraft crashes, it's just a piece of aircraft, it's a piece of plastic. And so that aircraft can come in to this portion, which is almost 2 sections, and they can strategically fire that entire 2 sections in several hours in the evening, as well as fly IR, which is much safer because we're using basically a drone or a UAS versus having, 25 to 50 firefighters out there on the line doing IR. The portion within Missouri Bar going out to McNeil Creek, I'm sure the public is aware that's a very steep piece of ground, and we've been utilizing UAS in there. And when we drop those ping pong balls, it's very controlled. It's really good fire versus fire that we don't want. So we're able to get ahead of that area versus putting firefighters potentially at risk. When possible, can the team minimize strategic firing during the day? So I'm not super sure. So the last 2 days, we tried to fire during the day. We were unsuccessful. So we tried this afternoon. We were not successful. So we did discontinue firing. The vegetation just wasn't ready to take. Most of our ignitions has been in the evening. So we've got a very tight window, and so we've been starting ignitions about 2000, if not a little bit later, and we burn until the temperatures change and the RH goes up, which has been about 3 o'clock. We did have 2 nights ago that we were able to burn till about 4 in the morning. Then can the team coordinate with residents to ensure home protection systems are working? So as far as the sprinkler systems, the portable pumps, all the hose that's been put in place, firefighters have done a pretty excellent job putting those systems in place, clearing a lot of vegetation around homes. There were some pumps that were non-operable, and the group within the structure group assured me last night that they were going through pulling those pumps that didn't work. they were getting new pumps to replace those. So as far as the individuals out there, they've been making sure that those pumps work. They might not be running 24 hours a day, but the pumps were in place. They were working. The hose lays work to turn the sprinklers on, and the pumps that are non-operable have been requested to be replaced. Right, thank you. I think I covered the questions.
All right, so one question came in, and I'm going to try to answer part of it, but I might ask Sheriff LaRue to come back up. The question was, how are community members under an imminent threat by the Sheriff's Department while being deemed no longer a threat by the fire department, or I'm sorry, fire team? It makes them feel that there's not coordination between the team and the Sheriff's Department and sending mixed messages. So I'm just going to explain this, and I will have Sheriff LaRue come back up. We have a meeting every day, and we talk to the sheriff, our fire section, our operations section chiefs, all sit down, and we talk about what the threats are, what's happening in the areas, where the fire is possibly going, what it's doing, and we evaluate that on a regular basis. And based off of the information we're providing, the sheriff is making a decision based off that information. It's a continuous meeting that we have every day with him. And just because you might be seeing equipment moved around doesn't mean that that equipment isn't needed there. It's probably being moved a little bit to a better strategic location. But Sheriff, would you like to come up and add to that or anything? Or did I do a good job? All right, thank you.
No, you did a great job. I'll just reemphasize a few things. Yes, so a lot of different factors. Imminent threat, we talk about that. Different things going on. Many, many meetings about this. But considerations, just want to reemphasize, it could be the traffic, a lot of fire apparatus. These are small roads. We do not want people getting in an accident. Debris is a big one. The active fire, if there is or if there isn't, I mean, that is all, anything can happen out there, folks. I want you to understand that. There's spot fires. Fire is not, I always say it's not really out until it's out, which can be a while. We've seen things kick back up. And so that's why we have to talk about this stuff every day to make sure that we are doing everything we can to ensure that it is completely safe. Again, you may be willing to risk your life differently than somebody else, but I have to look at it for everybody. And I have to put that into consideration and make sure that I keep people safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And one of the last questions that came in, it kind of goes to me. Thank you for finally hosting a community meeting. The question is, why online only? Like I said earlier, this is our first day getting our feet on the ground and getting out here, and we wanted to get a meeting going as quick as we could, and we felt that this was the quickest way to get that meeting up and running with not having the time to find a good facility. To continue, it says that you guys were asking why we haven't populated the boards in the Fork of Salmon area, which is under an evacuation order. It is my duty, like the sheriff has said, to keep everyone safe. It's my duty for the information officers that are working with me to keep them safe. And if something is deemed an evacuation order, it's against our standard operating procedures for me to send anybody in or risk them to go in to populate a board. I do work every other way I can to push that information out, whether it's using the social media channels, working with your community liaisons. But I do whatever I can to work hard to get that information out to you. And as soon as that area is deemed safe, that the orders are lifted to even a warning, we can start allowing our information officers to go in. So that brings us to the end of the questions that come in, but I don't want you guys to get discouraged. Please continue to send them in. My information officers and I will continue to look at them and get answers to them as it comes in. And next up, I'd like to invite our agency administrator, Natalie Kelly, District Ranger.
Good evening, everybody. Natalie Kelly. I am the local district ranger here out of Fort Jones, Salmon Scott River Ranger District. So you heard a lot of good information from the team tonight about the fire, but what I was able to bring the team back to is the work that we identified prior to these fires, and Bear Country was part of that. We identified this area that we needed to do work, and the commitment of that work. And once this is over, we're going to continue that work. We had crews actually working within the WUI, Peekaniu Ridge, all of that. And so I know that's been, something that we've really wanted to see in the last couple years. So I'm hoping as we progress that we're not in this situation as a community, as a district, moving forward. So just reinstills my commitment, Danica's commitment, and the team here to keep working hard for resilient landscapes moving forward. But that's kind of where we're heading to, but where we are right now. And so I've been here for quite some time. I stayed down in Idlewild with Team 1, and then Team 4 transition over here. And I think it's great that they're able to speak to all these technical tools, but what I wanted to instill is how we work as a community. And so some of the things that we were able to offer at the district, and just to kind of help the teams, because we know they're not from here, and that's not bad, is, we have our timber staff also here, helping identify road systems. We've had local fire leadership out there working with teams. This is an all hands on deck approach, because it's really risky business, and you all drive these roads every single day. You know the impacts that can create on these roads. You are a very you have a lot of good fire knowledge. You've lived within these fires for a lot of years, so you just know how treacherous this can be. And having all those resources in service to these communities is the top priority. And I'm going to be here for quite some time, and really my commitment is to ensure, working with Team 4, to safely and effectively put this fire out as quickly as possible. Work with the team, the sheriff, all of them. As you heard, a lot of collaboration is taking place here every single day, almost twice a day, if not more, to assess, understanding the impacts, to get people home, and so that we can continue to be really proactive on this landscape to reduce catastrophic wildfire moving forward. And I just really appreciate your patience and understanding as we go through this. I know it's not easy, but we're just really here to support all of you, and we're going to stick with it until it's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. And for closing comments, Incident Commander with Team 4, Rocky Obliger.
Good evening. First of all, I want to take the time to thank each and every one of you that took the time to log into this virtual format. It is difficult to have a community meeting this way, and I'm always amazed that we have the ability to do this through a social media format and a virtual format, where years ago we never were able to do that. While we would like to have a personal in-briefing with everyone, we're in a situation that with just the sheer distance of folks that are logging in, what made it almost impossible to have one location that we could have this meeting. So this really starts us an opportunity to start sharing information and answer questions that you've asked. I've got to tell you, when we talk about evacuation, that is probably one of the most difficult things, and it really falls onto our law enforcement component, in this case, the Siskiyou County Sheriffs. They have a difficult job to initiate those evacuation, whether it's an order or a warning. And the firefighters and the fire experts that are on the ground that make the determination based on the fire behavior they have and do, we share that with them, and they have to make that decision. And this was not an easy fire from the get-go. Team 1, I've spent a lot of time with that team in the past. Most of us have been in this country many times. I think my first fire was in Sawyer Bar up here in 1974, and we managed large incidents. Many of the fires here, the July Complex, the Happy, most of them have been on the fires here, but you live it. You live in a fire environment, and you're well aware of the situation. So you heard about the fire danger, but it's that secondary danger where we often get our fatalities, and that's the rolling rocks, the debris that falls, and in this case on this fire, we even had an incident of a tree snag that fell on a crew that was cutting line, and to this day, while we were able to get those 3 folks that were emergency evac to the appropriate hospital, we have one of them that's going to have long-term recovery with both the spine and back injuries, and we're not really sure what the fate of that young firefighter is going to be. So remember that when the sheriff makes that difficult decision, it's not one that's done in a vacuum. It's done by everybody involved, all the cooperators, and what's the best, because our highest priority is the safety of the public, the safety of the firefighters, and the safety of all emergency responders. The other thing is this is a collaborate type fire. While the fire is on 2 specific forests, both the Six Rivers and the Klamath National Forest, we got to remember all the cooperators that are involved. When we talk about the sheriff's office, they're supported by the Siskiyou County OES, and part of that is Public Works, and the responsibility of the instability of those landscapes, the hill slopes where the fire burned off, and still trying to determine the severity of how many more rocks are going to fall down, how many more trees are going to fall down, and that's the last thing we need to do in each and every one of you that are still within the affected area. The other one that we haven't really acknowledged the whole time on this incident is our one cooperator is CAL FIRE. And CAL FIRE provided resources to this while they didn't have a single piece of dirt on their responsibility land of the state, but they provided resources and continue to provide resources to support all the agencies involved. And tomorrow will be their last operational shift as they'll be winding down, and the last 2 remaining hand crews, their golf crews, and 2 remaining strike teams will be going home, fully knowing that the unit chief there, the Cisco unit chief from CAL FIRE, he's in total communications that if we have any additional fires, because I'm sure with the lightning we could potentially have lightning holdovers, if any change in the dynamics of the fire, that we have those resources to sit, currently the ones we have on. This fire is the highest priority right now in Northern California. We have the largest response. So we're in a situation to get the resources we want. And just in the last week itself, to see where they've done and where we are with the containment and the potential, is that it shouldn't be too far in the future that we're hoping to reach our overall containment objectives. And we still have a long ways to go, certainly on the suppression repair and then the bear. But we're going to work with that sheriff's office we don't want to keep you out of your homes. Another staggering figure in career, and if you haven't been, and we heard the sheriff in the last 5 years, just think of this, that over 90% of civilian and firefighter fatalities occur when people wait till the last minute to evacuate, or we go in at the last minute to try to rescue people. In a single day, in 2009, 187 civilian fatalities occurred in Australia in a single day due to people that didn't want to evacuate. I went in there a year later and tried to figure the aftermath and the sorrow in those communities of knowing somebody. Everybody knew somebody, a brother, sister, mother, father, uncle, etc., and have to live that. I spent 6 weeks there living through the aftermath of the 1-year anniversary of those folks, and none of us want to result in that. And so when we talk about the inconvenience, we really are serious about your safety. So I want to tell you, on our direction from the agency administrators, they've been incredibly supportive of any resource we want, anything we need. Our tribal folks and the effect is certainly Keurig and the other neighboring heritage areas that are critical to our heritage as a nation. Is absolutely imperative that we work together. So this is just the start of our communications with you, and we're hoping to have additional communications through meetings, and we're glad that you asked for this. We encourage you to keep asking those difficult questions. And I tell you what, the sheriff getting up here, I commend you, because that's not easy, because that is a tough road. But having spent my career and knowing what law enforcement, and having a son who's in law enforcement, a daughter who's in fire, a wife who is in fire, and myself, we're here to provide the very best for you. So all the teams that have come through, we don't do it in a vacuum. We coordinate, communicate. The team that just transitioned out, we have spent, as you heard, one of my ops chiefs was with them for 6 days. We had folks integrated for many, many days. So it was a seamless transition for the folks. And our job is to provide the very best safety for the firefighters, logistical support, because my final thought is about those young men and women that are on the ground, 24-hour operations covered on this fire. There's somebody out there to ensure your protection. And just remember those folks, because it's just the start of what's going to be a long season. And our job is to make sure they get to go home after this fire to their families, to go to the next one, that they get to enjoy the holidays and not be a statistic that we've seen over the years in the catastrophic fires that we've had throughout the United States. So on behalf of California Team 4, again, the 6 Rivers and Klamath National Forest and all of our cooperating agencies, I want to thank you, first of all, for your patience, and again, for logging in and continue to ask those difficult questions, because we're here to answer them. We have nothing to hide. We're here to support you. And our job when we leave this, because you will be here, the folks that work here will be here, our job is to leave the relationships as good or better than when we first showed here, because we know what it's like. We know what you're going through. We've been there. I've had my family evacuated before, and it's not difficult. I've been on fires while my family's been evacuated. I've had firefighters that worked for me that lost their houses while they were fighting fires. But we're here to help you. So thank you, first of all, for not being afraid to ask those questions, and secondly, for supporting our firefighters on the ground and all the responders that have been tied to this incident. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for who joined us this evening. Like I said, please continue to go ahead and send in those questions, and we'll get answers as soon as we can. Have a good night.